Hello, everybody. Welcome into the NBA Front Office Show. It's Friday. You know what that means.
Front Office Friday! Almost free agency edition.
Let's go. The draft is come and gone. Free agency is on the way. Trade rumors already swirling. God, I love this time of year. And Keith, the Summer League schedule came out too, just to get me that much more excited about everything we're going to see in coming up in Las Vegas. Let's go. I love this time of year. Happy to see you all here. Smash that like button. Make sure that you turn on notifications for the channel. And of course, if you're not subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button as well.
We're so close to 40,000. Come on. Let's go. Subscribe. If you're watching today, YouTube, just hit subscribe. I promise it'll be worth it. Standing offer. You run into me at Summer League, you get a hug if you prove you're subscribed to the show.
There you go.
If you want it. I'm not going to force you to take a hug, of course.
No.
But never force that upon anyone.
No. But there you go. Keith is going to be handing out hugs at Summer League. Yeah. It's going to be a good time. Going to be a good time. Somebody said, "Is this like almost a holiday season for you two?" Yeah, this is. I mean, I don't know. I guess you could look at it this way. It's kind of like NBA Christmas right now, just about. You know, in the summertime, Christmas in July here, almost July anyway. Or I guess you could say it's almost like holiday season in terms of we take a little bit of a break when we get to like August and the dog days of it and all of that. But I prefer this time of year when we're so busy we don't even know what to do and our heads are spinning because I love this stuff.
Yeah, I woke up today and I was like, all right, it's Friday, I think. And then I had to look at my calendar and I was like, oh, wait, it's Thursday. And then I didn't realize I hadn't ripped my page-a-day calendar off yet. So, yeah, it was like, And then eventually I was like, no, it's Friday because it's Front Office Friday. And that helped me get there. But, yeah, it was this time of year is something else, man. We're figuring out. Hey, let's start here. If we can.
I had one I was going to pick, and I'm curious if you're going to pick the same one.
Was it? The Ace Bailey one?
But this is a good one. This is a good one,
okay.
Too.
So let's start with this one from Eddie Den. A couple people asked this on Twitter as well when I said we were going live today. It says, Shams and Wendy keep saying Ace doesn't have a choice, but can he not play this year, re-enter the draft, and become a free agent? Yes, kind of. So how it works is Utah now owns his NBA draft rights. If Ace Bailey doesn't go to the Jazz, says, I'm not playing for the Jazz, in order for him to get out of that situation, he has to not play professional basketball anywhere for the entire year. Then he can re-enter the draft. He will not become a free agent. He would re-enter the draft. But there's nothing preventing Utah from saying, we're picking you again. And too bad for you. Like, there's no well, he didn't want to go there once.
To burn a second pick on him, though, then, right?
Yeah, they would, yes. And there's nothing that helps the Jazz here if that's the way this plays out. They don't, get any kind of exception, or we don't go back and say, hey, guys, actually, we're going to redo the draft. That doesn't happen. So the only choices he really has are go to Utah or sit out fully an entire year and not play at all anywhere. He's going to go to Utah. This will get resolved. Or if Utah tires of it, and good luck winning a staring contest with the Angels, maybe they trade him and say, all right, we'll trade him. We'll go somewhere via trade. But he's going to end up, my guess, with the Jazz is where that'll be. And last thing on this could play out for three more drafts. If he just kept saying, I don't want to go here, I don't want to go here. Once we hit that fourth draft after he graduated high school, he's automatically eligible. And then it would just be too bad for you. You got picked.
Wow. It would be too bad for you. You got picked, and then he would be stuck with that team. They would have his rights forever. He could never hit free agency. He would have to sign with that team.
Yeah, at that point, yeah, they would just own his draft rights. Wow, clearly, he's not going to sit out 3 consecutive years.
No, but just the idea that he could sit out a year, and this is where, I mean, when we get into the conversation about the NIL money, if guys are making tens of millions of dollars before they even get to the NBA, doesn't that then give them perhaps the ability to do that? to sit out a year. And here's Keith, if I was the NBA, particularly if I was a small market team in a non-desirable location, what I would want to see done, and I don't know, somebody would break, but what I would want to see done is if Ace Bailey did that nuclear route, nobody draft him.
Yeah.
Nobody draft him. Just
well,
say,
that's, I mean, if he went 1 year without playing, and then it was like, all right, teams worked him out like they normally would have and all that because he's re-entering the draft, or he just held, hey, I'm just doing an open run with my buddies. Like, and teams are like, yeah, he looks good, he's in shape. But if it went past 1 year, no one would draft him because they'd be like, no, this, now that you're a problem, like that you'd become a complete toxic asset that no one would touch. But yeah, it's a messy situation. I think Windhorst was the one who put it best when he said the Jazz aren't even saying this is a problem unless he doesn't show up Sunday night and then isn't ready for summer league camp, whatever they're calling it, on Monday. Like then that's when the Jazz will start to say, hey, what are we doing here?
Right, because if you're the Jazz right now, you just put a smile on your face and everything is fine and everything's good and all of that, and then hope that he eventually turns up here. But there were reports that he told one team, and maybe it was the Jazz, one team in the top 5, if you draft me, I will not show up.
Yep.
What if it was the Jazz and he's just following through with that threat here?
Yeah. And like we said on our live draft show, this is the Angels saying, we don't really care if you don't want to be here. We think you're the best player. We're going to pick you. And again, just to be clear, because I think somebody just said it in the chat, but like somebody with the idea of, well, he'll just go play in Europe for a year, or Australia for a year, or China for a year. He could, but then the Jazz own his draft rights. You have to not play anywhere. That's how the rules work, because they want to avoid a situation like this where it is, fine, I'll just go play in China for a year, make, $5 million playing there, and then come back and be in the draft next year. That's why once you're in the draft, if you're selected, you have to sit out fully for an entire year.
The problem here for Utah is if they give in on this and they budge, it's not just Ace Bailey. It's what precedent does that set moving forward? It's what happens the next time somebody says, oh no, I only want, then you start getting into like the Kevin Durant situation we just saw. And it's very different when you're an NBA veteran, you're a legend, you're a first ballot Hall of Famer, and you're saying, I want to finish my career here, or here. You've built up some equity in the NBA. There's obviously something too. We're going to try to make sure that you finish your career in a way that you want to finish it. And there were still people frustrated with Kevin Durant. A little different when you've got a kid who has not played a single NBA game that is now trying to dictate his landing spot in this way. And if you give in to this, and if you say, okay, well, we're going to trade you, what happens to the next kid that comes along that says, oh, no, I only want to be in New York. I only want to be in LA. I've made $20 million in NIL money. I don't care if I have to sit out a year. I'll go sit at home and I'm going to play Xbox for the next year or whatever. And then I'll go back in the draft next year. And that's going to force teams to not draft the kid. That's going to force teams if they do draft him, to trade him. I think we could set a dangerous precedent here. Not that, look, most kids, 99% of the kids who get drafted, they're thrilled to get drafted. They're going to go where they go and all of that. But I just think this could set a dangerous precedent if the Jazz do blink here, and if this ultimately goes Ace Bailey's way and he gets what he wants.
Yeah, it's
or what he maybe want. We don't, what's reportedly rumored that he wants.
So we'll stay on this one for a couple more comments and minutes. What teams does he want to play for? It was reported Brooklyn or Washington was where he wanted to go. So and that's, he hasn't said that obviously, so we'll see. With that, Too Loose Goose says, couldn't he have just not entered the draft and just signed with the teams? No, that's not how it works. You have to be in at least one draft until the time you were 4 years outside of your high school class graduating. Once you're there, if you haven't been playing anywhere, you can then enter as a free agent, or if you've been playing abroad, or you're over the age of 22. There's a whole bunch of conditions on it. Guys can't just like leave high school and say, I'm a free agent. I'm signing with whoever. You have to be make yourself eligible to be selected in at least one draft. Now, had he gone undrafted, now he's an undrafted free agent. He could have done whatever he wanted, but we're not there. The Alex Walton says, why do European players not have to sit out? Nikola Topic didn't sit out, but stayed in Serbia. Nikola Topic signed his rookie scale contract. He was just out with an injury all year. So he was on the Thunder. He gets a ring. Like, he's the first player in NBA history to
win
a championship without ever playing a game, which is just bonkers stuff and just a weird thing. But he was on the Thunder roster all year. You go back and look at the box scores, inactive every single game due to injuries. So he was there. And he was with the Thunder quite a bit. He did some of his stuff in Serbia, but he was there. Now, if you're a European player and you're drafted and don't come over, we see that all the time. Bogdan Bogdanovic, a good example, right? He got drafted and stayed in Europe for I think it was 3 or 4 seasons.
Oh, who's the dude for the Magic that was taken 13th and never showed up?
There you go. Blu-ray 10, Fran Vasquez.
That's right.
Drafted. Yep. I think it was 11th. He was picked. It never came over. And just last summer, the Magic renounced his draft rights. And finally said we're done, because he's closer to our age than most NBA players are, and he never came, and he's actually retired now from playing. So just cleaning up a little, I think, cleaning up a little bit of misconceptions there, some with this and all that. So the reality is Ace Bailey will play for the Utah Jazz. I'm not going to get twisted. This will get figured out. He will join the Jazz. My guess is later this weekend, and they will kind of go forward from that.
Yeah, and hopefully that's where this all goes, and where how this all gets resolved, and he's with the Jazz and all of that moving forward. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go. We'll get into some of our super chat questions and things of that nature. There was a comment, and I've lost it at this point, but was asking about can we please finally fix the wrong hat situation for draft night?
Yeah.
I mean,
did you say they asked Bobby Marks about it on air?
Yeah.
And he was like, I wish, but just no.
It just goes against what the NBA is, that teams not being able to talk about a trade until it's actually done. So much of it, what the NBA rules are, is that certain things can't occur unless it's actually happened and it's done.
Yeah.
And this hat thing is just kind of a offshoot.
Here is the good thing. It's stupid because they come up, they put the hat on, their picture gets taken with Adam Silver with the wrong hat on, and then they're not on that team. But what does happen with now is teams are like the Hornets, for example, the Liam McNeely acquisition, which is going to come down the line because that trade won't go official for a bit yet. The Hornets came out and they were allowed to announce we have Liam McNeely's draft rights in a pending trade, and he was able to do his press conference with the Hornets. He will be part of their summer league practices. They have at least loosened up on that and said, hey, do that. And then they get there. By that time, they showed him he already had a Hornets hat. And I think by the time, oh gosh, now I'm slipping my mind. Somebody said in the chat, because I want to shout her out because she did such a great job with the interviews after and some of the family interviews. Monica McNutt, I think it was, doing the interviews. By the time they were doing those, some of them had already been given the right hat, and they already had the hat of the team they were going to. So they're there.
All right, let's go.
I'm gonna pull this real quick. Sorry, you might have mentioned this, but when's the update to the trade machine? Trade machine's all updated. It's all cranking and working. I'm not sure what. Let me know what you're not seeing in there. Maybe I can answer that better. But everything's there.
All right, let's go here. Hey guys. Keith, if Golden State does not give Jonathan Kuminga an offer sheet, he becomes a unrestricted free agent, right? Yeah. Then they have
offer.
Oh, well, the qualifying, sure.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Then they have the non-taxpayer MLE, 14.1 million, biannual, 5.1, right, and can use the
I can check
Kyle
the
Anderson
math on
trade
that real
exception.
quick.
Well, I'll pull up their sheet here.
Yeah, and I can let me see here. Yeah, I mean, maybe, sort of. Like, they'd be about 20, they're about 25 million under the first apron right now, with where they're at. So, yeah, you could probably use all of those things and still stay under the first apron, or at least
Mhm.
pretty close. The challenge is it's like then you've lost. You have to
You've lost
kind of
Kuminga
give
for
up on
nothing.
everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, you lost Kuminga for nothing. You're giving up on Peyton, probably Looney, like a whole bunch of guys. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, in theory, yes, that could work.
Right. I don't think that would be the preferable way for the Warriors, though.
Correct.
All right, we'll go here. Space Cadet said Braun takes a pay cut. I wouldn't assume that's what's happening here. We've heard
It's not
the
gonna happen.
opposite. Split the MLE with Bruce and Clint. So to get the full MLE, trade whatever it takes for Claxton. Well, that's easy to say. Resign Hayes, Goodwin, and pick up Torian Prince on a veteran minimum. I like Torian Prince. He's talked lovingly about being in LA and all that kind of stuff, but who knows exactly where he'll wind up. I would definitely pick up the option on Jordan Goodwin. I think, Keith, that to me, that's for the Lakers, that's a no-brainer to pick up the option on Jordan Goodwin. It's just over $2 million, and he was good enough defensively last season to where you want to give him the opportunity to keep building on that.
Yeah, and given that,
million.
like, Luke is gonna miss some time. Like, and I said this on how do you say Allen's last name?
Sliwa.
I kept wanting to say Silwa, and I was like, that I don't think that's right. On his show today, and I said this, like, when I say these things about Luka, I am not the whole Luka's fat and out of shape, so he's gonna miss. He has missed some time in his career.
Mm-hmm.
So you just want to have some guard depth. And yeah, for $2 million, like, go. I would probably waive Milton just to create a little more flexibility. I don't know that he returns $3 million of value, but Jordan Goodwin, yeah, just get him back and keep it, get him and go. So yeah, all the rest. I mean, I don't know that you're splitting the MLE between Bruce Brown and Clint Capella. You're $7 million a piece. That maybe. I guess, I don't know. That feels maybe a little light for Bruce Brown. But
maybe for Bruce Brown. Capella probably is going to be like a taxpayer type guy or whatever. But yeah, I mean, but again, the whole LeBron takes a pay cut thing. Like, to me, it's more, and I don't think this is the ideal situation. Keith, you and I talked about it yesterday, but it's more likely they get to an MLE if Dorian Finney-Smith walks away than I think LeBron taking a pay cut. And I don't think that's a positive thing for the Lakers either. That's just the silver lining. If Dorian Finney-Smith walked in free agency, is then you would have most likely the MLE to use.
Yeah, absolutely. I like this one because he says, is there any chance Lakers sign Cam Thomas, trade for Cam Whitmore? You want Cam Johnson too? How about Cam Newton? He's got any hoop skills?
I mean, they had Cam Reddish.
Yeah. Cam Reddish. Yeah. Well, you already had him. So yeah, but run it back, right? Get all the Cams.
Yeah, and then they'll put out a bunch of shirts with a Lakers logo, Lakers colors, purple and gold, and just big, bold letters proclaiming, yes, we can.
You should have saved that marketing idea. Sign Cam Thomas, probably not.
No.
He's just out of the price range because in order to get the Nets to blink, it would probably have to be a sign and trade. And sign and trades are complicated because that triggers a first apron hard cap. Cam Whitmore, I don't think so either. I don't think the Rockets are necessarily looking to move him in a move like that. I mean, if you gave up, I don't know, in a trade where the Lakers also gave up Rui Hachimura, yeah, maybe. Yeah. But I don't think the Rockets have any desire. Did you see the Rockets news today though? They're basically going to bring back, what was it, Jayshawn Tate, Jeff Green, and Aaron Holiday?
Jeff Green, 57-year-old Jeff Green is going to be on an NBA roster again next season. I love it.
How about that? Let's pause there for a second. Jeff Green had a serious heart condition that could have ended his career.
People have forgotten.
Like 15 years ago.
Yep, exactly. He's been in the NBA so long, people have forgotten that there was a point when it looked like his basketball career was over.
And he's still going. Like, shout out to Jeff Green.
Jeff Green is the guy where whenever I do the play-by-play for a game involving Jeff Green, he ages dramatically over the course of the game. He goes from being 37-year-old Jeff Green to like 65-year-old Jeff Green via my play-by-play throughout the game. It's a ton of fun, but look at how long the Basketball Reference page is for Jeff Green. Yeah. Like that's how long this dude's been in the NBA. It's incredible.
2011-12 was the year. So I was like a year off when I said 15 years ago. That's crazy. Legit. Like, I remember the Celtics were like, his career might be over. Like, it may be done.
Yep.
Yeah, unbelievable, career for Jeff Green. And a lot of really good years in there for him, too. Like, so,
Uh-huh.
now he's like the bench veteran, but he's still productive when he plays. He's like the perfect stay ready guy.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we got guys out. We need you tonight. Let's go. With that. So yeah, yeah, Uncle Jeff about to be great uncle. I love
Right. It. He's getting there.
Yeah, the Rockets cap sheet up a second ago too, and we have the ages on there on Spot Track.
Yeah.
I swear to God, Steven Adams, it says 32, but he was 32 when he came into the league, and somehow now he's just stayed 32 forever.
Well, how old is DeAndre Ayton right now?
Like 45.
He looks like it, right?
Yeah.
But then I don't know what it is with Portland and those guys, because Greg Oden, I swear, was 52 when he got drafted. So looking at this Rockets team, so they're going to keep Jeff Green, they're going to keep Jayshawn Tate, they're going to keep Aaron Holiday, and now they're talking about a Cam Whitmore trade. But a lot of that, I think, just has to do with opportunity, and that's part of the reason why you and I kept talking about why the number 10 pick in this draft was so available. Reed Shepherd was the 3 pick, and he couldn't get on the floor last year for Houston because they have so much depth, they have so much talent on this team. It's tough. And so, Whitmore's minutes went down last year, his production went down just because it's just a crowded team. And now you're bringing back Aaron Holiday. I think that we could even see another kind of consolidation-esque trade where if you're going to trade Cam Whitmore, do you attach him to somebody else and then go try to add an upgrade somewhere? I think something like that might make sense depending on, again, who you attach him to. That's the challenge with Houston. But
yeah,
it's still, this roster is stacked with young, talented players.
Yeah, there's just, my question is, when does somebody chirp a little like, hey, I want to play? Kind of like how Peyton Pritchard did, right, with the Celtics a couple years ago. When he was like, I want to play, I want to be traded because I'm just sitting here at the end of the bench behind Smart and White, and then behind Holiday and White. Like, I want a chance to play. And they said, your chance is coming. And then it came, and he was really good, and then even better last year. But not in a bad way, like I hate Houston, but just these guys want to play. And that's where like trading Cam Whitmore could make sense in the right deal, because it's gonna, just look at that group. If not all that group is back, he's not cracking that rotation nightly. It's just not gonna happen.
Yeah, exactly.
That's okay for Jeff Green, who's what are we up to, 58 years old?
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't necessarily, he knows that. So yeah, something will happen at some point.
It's different when you're trying to really build the foundation of your career compared to you're the guy who's at the tail end of his career. You've made your mark, you've done your thing, and now you're just kind of paying it forward and you're being that veteran on the team to show the next generation the way. Very different situations. If you're like Jeff Green is not getting above a minimum contract for the rest of his NBA career. These guys like Cam Whitmore, Peyton Pritchard, somebody like that, they're fighting for minutes so that they can get a big deal on their next contract.
Correct. Yeah. They're trying to earn the next contract. The other guys, and I don't mean this in any kind of negative way. They're just hanging on for another year. So Brian Walters asked, can I ask you a question? What time? Well, you did already, but you can ask the rest of it too. What time Monday does free agency start? 6 p.m. Eastern still, right? I hope ESPN has a show. Yes, to the 6 p.m. Eastern. I don't know what ESPN's doing. I don't know that you want to watch it, but you watch us. We'll be live, not at 6, but later in the evening. We'll let a bunch of stuff happen. And then when we feel like things slow down a little bit, maybe 11, 12 o'clock or so on the East Coast time, we'll jump in and talk about everything that happened. We'll do that for 2-3 days if we need to at the start of free agency each night. So late night shows on the East Coast, but you can join us, hang out. We have a lot of fun.
There we go.
You should have been there at the start of last year at the beginning because you missed out a little bit.
There was this year. There's not a lot of names out there in free agency this year. Not a lot of money to spend either, but there'll still be those surprises that'll come out. Whoa, this team got this guy, that type of thing. It'll still be exciting. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, look at this guy. He's right. Why would you watch ESPN? You got the goats right here. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's
Smash that
go.
like button. Hit that subscribe.
Yeah. So, do you think though that the start of free agency will unlock any further trade activity, or has that stuff already kind of been unleashed upon the NBA at this point?
Uh, I don't know. I mean, we're 5 mega trades in already,
Yeah.
which is why I think we didn't see a lot of trades for players at the NBA draft. Some of those trades are like wrapped into the draft, like the Durant one we were talking about, the 10th picks involved in that.
Hmm.
So yeah, we're still going to see trades. And I think there's still quite a bit to come. And one of the things that was interesting, I would credit if I could remember who put the report out there, but like sign and trades are probably going to be a thing again because just nobody has cap space.
Yeah.
So if guys want to move, so yeah, I think we're going to be far busier with trades, which quite frankly is way more fun because it involves more teams. It involves more teams and players than just one player signs here and you talk about, well, he left this team. How does it impact them? And sometimes we knew it's happening. It doesn't matter. And then it's the one team. So yeah, there's definitely going to be some moves coming.
Yeah, exactly. So it could be a nothing major, but the Nets have waived Maxwell Lewis, former
Okay.
Laker Maxwell Lewis.
Not completely surprising.
No.
That makes some sense there. I think it's $100K in dead money on the thing. Oh, another small piece of news from Kyle Neubeck. Sixers are declining Jared Butler's team option.
So, okay. Oh, and we also had Andre Drummond picked up his player option as well, as expected, on a $5 million thing. And I guess you know what? We haven't talked about the big news of the morning. Masai Ujiri out in Toronto. What do you think about that? And then how long do you think Masai is actually available on the market?
Just because the timing, excuse me, is what's really weird.
It is right after the draft.
Yeah, in between the draft and free agency. Mm-hmm. I will say Masai Ujiri wasn't doing a lot of the day-to-day front officing. I'm making up words now of the for the Raptors. That's been really Bobby Webster for a while. So I don't think we're too caught up in, oh my gosh, the Raptors are in trouble. But I think it's a sign of he was being paid a lot of money because he had the president role, not the president of the president of the team role,
mm-hmm.
As well as I think he was like a vice chairman. So he's being paid a lot of money, and they haven't been good for the last 5 years. They've missed out on the postseason. So not a huge surprise that they're making a change there. As far as I'm catching on somewhere else, maybe next year. I don't know that that happens here, a couple of days out from free agency.
It's a weird time to be out there on the market right now, but he'll wind up somewhere. I'm sure he's too well respected around the NBA. But still, maybe a bit of a surprise. The timing obviously strange. It makes you wonder how much of a hand did he have in Toronto's draft night? Was that a thing? And then why let him go right after? But nonetheless, Toronto.
I gotta believe it could not have been because of we didn't like your picks.
No. I'm not suggesting that. I'm saying we've talked about in the past. If you're going to move on from a GM, don't you want to do it before they make those big decisions for your organization? You want whoever is going to be running the show to make those decisions. And like you said, he may not be in that direct decision making role, even if he is higher up in the chain of command. But it's rare that you see somebody in that type of position get let go at this time of year.
Yeah, just firing coaches days before the playoffs.
Sure.
It was, I guess people are like, hey, if it's not the right deal, let's just go. So, question related to that, still under contract for one more year. Can he go somewhere? Probably. The standard in NBA contracts for coaches and front office folks are, if you're fired, just because they didn't want you anymore, you can sit home and collect your money for whatever time is left on your contract. Like Monty Williams, right?
Mm-hmm.
With the Pistons is going to be paid until we're, consumed by the sun. But they are, but if you go take another job, you forfeit that money. Like now that money is free and clear. I don't know that to be specific with Masai's contract. Just to be clear, that is the standard around the NBA.
All right, let's go here. What a masterclass draft by the Hornets. The players we selected complement the current roster. This is a meaningful step in the right direction for the franchise. Yeah, what did you think about the Hornets and what they've done so far?
His name's Scuba Steve, and we didn't even give him the Scuba.
Oh, I didn't even see that. Scuba Steve.
Yeah, one, I love we're getting a Hornets comment. Let's go.
Right?
Like, that's awesome. That makes me smile. Yeah, I thought they had an awesome night. You got an extra first-round pick for Mark Williams, who doesn't seem like you really wanted anyway. They got to figure out something up front because right now it's Yusuf Nurkic and Moussa Diabate and small ball options, but that's fine. A center will become available in free agency or via a small trade that they can get as a get by. But yeah, I think Con Knipple is an awesome fit with Brandon Miller and LaMelo Ball. I think Liam McNeely, you're doubling down a little bit on Knipple because they're semi-similar players, but why not? Everybody wants wings who can do a little bit with the ball in their hand and can shoot and have good size. So I think Charlotte had a really awesome draft night.
Yeah, I think they did. And I think a lot of the things, we saw the initial Mark Williams trade that they were doing to get Dalton Connect. They got some skills that would be somewhat similar in the draft. And so good to see for Charlotte moving forward here. Obviously, they very much did not want to be the team to pay Mark Williams on his next contract. They got value for him. Was as much as they were going to get? No, but still pretty good return given the situation. So now they can move forward, and we'll see what they do at the center position. And I just hope they can claw their way out of the spot that it feels like they've been in forever. It's just not being quite good enough to really make that push and be a real threat in the Eastern Conference. So I'd like to see them take some steps forward here this year. And please stay healthy. Stay healthy, Charlotte.
Yes, 100%. Please. Yeah. I like a couple people are asking in chat because they saw an account tweeted that Celtics are trying to get Naz Reid. I don't.
I think it was Centel.
Yeah, either that's like a fake thing.
It was a fake thing.
Yeah, that's not probably. Just be careful, guys. Be really careful with this. So,
especially, and this was, I believe, that was a Twitter-based thing, but especially with Instagram, I've talked about it before. That people will put out a picture saying this guy rumored to be traded to this team, and they'll say it's from Mark Stein or something like that, and that kind of stuff runs rampant on Instagram. Go double check and see if that person actually said that anywhere, because a lot of times they didn't.
DT43 says, "Yeah, I'm trying to get Sydney Sweeney too." So, you got to save those comments for the late night shows, my friend.
There we go. That's right.
Middle afternoon on a Friday. We don't need to be getting into naughty time yet.
Will from Texas.
It's always his friend. He has a friend always. He's got a lot of friends.
Hey, so I have this friend. My friend Bradley feels the Clippers ruined his life by drafting Yannick Niederhauser. Any optimism for the Clippers? And is Bradley overreacting? Well, I'll tell you what. I mean,
he's overreacting.
If you want Bradley to improve his life, I would say don't be a Clippers fan. That would be step number one towards improving his life. For Bradley to come into the light, don't be a Clippers fan. Any optimism for the Clippers? No. Yeah, look, I think the Clippers, we know where they're at.
Started with no.
I don't mean no optimism for the Clippers. I mean, yes, there's optimism for the Clippers. Yeah. They are very clearly, they're going to take these next few seasons with Kawhi, with James Harden. They're going to build around these guys. They're going to get what they can out of them. They're going to make their run, and then they're going to have a lot of flexibility after that, and they'll be able to pivot at that point. In the meantime, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, in the meantime, they've got a shot here in the Western Conference. Year after year, we've seen injuries, other things derail them. Maybe that's ultimately where they stay. But again, I think they're going to focus on future flexibility and then giving this current group as much of a possibility to win. Right now, while they can, they're going to try to be opportunistic. And I don't think Giannis was a bad choice for them at all. And I think now you've got another big there behind Big Zoo. And yeah, I think things are looking up for the Clippers. I think things are going to be just fine for them.
Yeah, I think the pick was targeting a very specific kind of center. They said they wanted an athletic, lob catching, rim running center. Because that's different from what Zubac is, right? He's just not that. He's much more ground bound, very good. But just that they wanted somebody to give just a slightly different look that they felt like would also hold up defensively and on the boards. That's why they didn't go for like Ryan Kalkbrenner or Maxime Renaud, who both ended up going in the second round, because I think for them it was those guys don't offer the difference that they were looking for. So they wanted to get Niederhauser to play this way. And I think it's okay. He was a very rapid riser. He was like late second round guy going into the combine, moved up steadily throughout the combine process and then the pre-draft process and everything else. So I think they're in a pretty good spot with him. I think it was a fine pick. He's a backup behind. I mean, honestly, Zubac, is he the most underrated big man in the center in the league?
He's been phenomenal.
Yeah, incredible. Like
he was so good last season.
Yeah. So now you have your 48 minutes of center minutes covered, and you don't have to rely on Zubac to play 30 plus minutes a night, then fill the rest in with small ball. To go back to your overall Clippers comment, I think we're going to see Harden line up his contract with Kawhi, probably do a 2-year deal. I don't even think it'll be another 1+1. I think it'll just be a straight 2 years. They're going to make the best run they can for 2 seasons. And then look at that. You have it on the screen. That third season in 27-28, it's Zubac and nothing else. So that'll be where, if they haven't broken through where they want to be in the finals, or that's the reset somewhere around Zubac and a ton of cap space.
All right, let's go here. Hey, Keith and Trevor, is it true the Lakers signed RJ Davis to an Exhibit 10 contract? And can you break down what an Exhibit 10 deal is? Yes, I did see that reporting last night. I haven't spoken to anybody with his camp or anything like that to know for sure. But yeah, I would trust that they are indeed doing that.
Yeah, RJ Davis, Arthur Kaluma, and somebody else.
Eric Dixon was a two-way. Yes,
was the third one. That's for people who don't know, that's Sarunas Marciulionis' kid. He played at St. Mary's. Good. No, he's not his dad, otherwise he would have been drafted. But
sure,
he's a good point guard with good size, pretty good player. RJ Davis is super duper small for somebody who's more like a shooting guard, because he's only like 6 feet tall and he's really not a point guard. And then Arthur Kaluma, kind of a, let's see what it looks like. But these guys are probably all going to be with South Bay.
Yep,
would be my guess. Maybe one of them plays well enough to snag a 2-way, but I think the Lakers signed some guys to 2-ways too, or at least one.
They signed Eric Dixon to a 2-way. But that's and they already have Trey Jemison on a 2-way from last year. He was on a 2-year 2-way deal. But that leads us all to, when we're talking about South Bay or the G League in general, that's really what Exhibit 10 deals are geared towards. It's about directing a player towards the G League, when ultimately that player will get waived. Almost 9 times out of 10, if not more, you see player X, Bob Boberson, right, gets signed by.
He's pretty good.
Yeah, he is. He's really good at the bob and weave, very very maneuverable. But he gets signed by whoever, the Lakers. Then you'll see at the conclusion of Summer League, Lakers request waivers on Bob Boberson, right? And the reason for that is because that player is going to go wind up with the G League affiliate and that team. They're going to wind up with, in this case, the South Bay Lakers. And what they'll get is, for staying for a certain amount of time, I believe is it 2 months or 3 months?
60 days.
60 days. So 2 months. So they stay there for that amount of time, and then they get a bonus. And so what this is it's a way for NBA teams to give a player more money on top of their G League salary in exchange for staying in their system and not going and taking an offer overseas, which can oftentimes offer more money than a typical G League contract would. So it's a way for teams to pay a player a little bit more, to stay with them, say, hey, we want to develop you. We want you to be in our G League system. We don't have room for you on our full-time roster or anything like that. We don't have a two-way contract for you, but we see that you're a little bit better than just a standard G League player. We want to keep you around. Here's some extra money that we can give you. That's really what the Exhibit 10 deal is geared to do. So whenever you see Exhibit 10, assume that player is going to wind up on that team's G League squad.
And it also that bonus for staying also keeps them from jumping to another team's G League team. Where like, all right, if RJ Davis is like, man, there's no real path to me here with the Lakers. When they waive me, I'm gonna go to the main Celtics because there's a better path for me to make it. Then he loses out on that. And that's why sometimes you'll see weird stuff like guy will get waived from an Exhibit 10, another team will sign him to an Exhibit 10 because they're kind of, hey, we're gonna cut you off here. Now we're gonna get him and go. Exhibit 10 contracts almost always can be converted to a two-way too. For a player if they have the two-way eligibility, they can be moved into a two-way position. We see that happen all the time. Like Austin Reaves, right? Wasn't he Exhibit 10 converted to a two-way? Maybe. I might be wrong. Or did
he may have been. I think he was two-way right out of the gate. I could be wrong.
But it does happen. It does happen once or twice a year. Somebody gets converted. And then once or twice every 5 seasons or so, we see somebody come through the two-way process and really pop as a big-time player. That's definitely Austin Reaves. So
sure.
So that's what happens with Exhibit 10 deals.
Yep. Exactly. And a lot of these guys we will see out there, most of them, in fact, we'll see out there at Summer League. They're going to be doing everything they can to earn their way from an Exhibit 10 onto a two-way contract and then make their way up from there. So,
yeah, I don't really
have favorite undrafted guys that I can pull from. Keith, go ahead and start making up names.
Yeah,
Bob Boberson.
So just a couple that I like that I've already seen come out. I liked Miles Kelly. I can't remember where he landed. I'm still catching up from all that stuff. I liked Marshallonis. He was one of my guys going into the draft. So I think the Lakers did well to pick him up. I think he's got a chance down the line to be an NBA player. Dixon's okay. He's little small he's probably got more of the game of a 5. So that's kind of an issue, right? These little small. Igor Milicic went to my Philly. I like him. Vladislav Golden, who's a center. He went to Miami. So I like that pickup. Lamont Butler, point guard to the Hawks on a two-way. Interesting. They don't have a ton of point guard depth there. So I really kind of like that one. I saw another one I wanted to pull. I was right underneath it. Ellie says, I know Sam Presti would never leak his big board before the draft. You just got to be careful. You're not taking pictures in the wrong place. We've seen that happen before, Orlando Magic and Philadelphia 76ers. Would he share them after the draft? He's got such an eye for talent. I'd be curious to know how he's right all the time. One, the answer is no. Maybe like 20 years after, he might say, here's what our big board was when all those guys are out of the league.
Yeah.
But you're never going to do that while guys are still playing because you don't want anybody to know we still like that guy, right? That's part of the process. That's why people asked, right? Why did any other team want to meet with Cooper Flagg at the Combine? Everybody knew he was going to Dallas because that's your last chance for a minimum of 4 years, probably way longer than that, to actually sit down and have a one-on-one conversation with Cooper Flagg without running afoul of the potential tampering rules. So it's just about gathering intel, building the relationship, starting to get those things up. You often see teams will say things like, man, we love this guy in the pre-draft process. We just couldn't get him then, but now we did. Now we're able to get him in a trade later down the line. So that's why, it kind of comes that way.
Exactly.
Your guy, Hero, nice two-way possible. It sounds like he's going to be straight rostered, which makes sense for the Lakers.
I think he means two-way play, like plays both sides of the ball.
A lot more on the defense side than the offense right now. He's a wing-sized guy who plays like a 4.
Yep.
Just, if the shot comes, yeah, 100%. But just the reason I pulled it was because it jumped out to me. The Lakers are going to roster him because the reason why is rostering him will cost less than a veteran minimum signing. And those are the things you have to do when you're dealing with apron issues.
Yep. Exactly. Okay. Let's see what else we've got here.
A couple people saying they're still mad about Zubac and Caruso.
Oh, we will forever be mad about that.
Well, you know what? You're not going to run into those problems. Well, the Zubac one was just a stupid trade.
It's just so dumb.
The Caruso problem, you're not running into that anymore.
Nope.
I don't think they're losing a player because they can't pay him anymore.
Yeah. They got the Bucks now. That's for sure. Let's see. Isn't the Austin Reaves situation kind of like the Dennis Schroeder situation? Not taking $90 million for a chance to get $120 million. There's injury risk and another poor playoff risk. Well, keep in mind though, like with Dennis Schroeder, there was he didn't have that other year coming under contract. Austin Reaves, if Austin goes and blows his knee out this season, God forbid, he's got a player option for $15 million sitting there that he could always pick up. And then he could go back and reprove himself and all that. So he does have that sort of there to, I guess, limit the floor of the deal. Whereas Dennis Schroeder, we saw, he wound up signing for a taxpayer MLE and you could see it. We talked about it on the show. You could see it coming that there were so many point guards, this much money, and their money was going to run out before every point guard was signed. And at least one or two guys were going to be left out in the cold. Yeah. And that's exactly what happened to Dennis Schroeder. And so he wound up having to take a below market value deal. I think he didn't properly mitigate that risk when he did what he did. But Austin Reaves is a little bit different because he does have that player option sitting there for him to pick up.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also worth comparative and relative to when these situations played out. Dennis Schroeder had already made some money. Like Austin Reaves in NBA terms hasn't made all that much yet. So for him, it makes a lot more sense to say, hey, wait a minute. Like that, I think it was Bobby Marks was just throwing out just a literal example of hey, if he could get a full max deal, here's what it would be. That's why you don't sign for $90 million now. Mm-hmm. And then people clipped that as oh, Austin wants this. That's not, there was just, it was just an example of that, which was followed by, of course, he's not getting that much, but he might get,
cut that out.
He may get 120 million, 130 million. But anyway, but that's why, because for him, that's complete. His family will be set forever. Yeah, they'd be set forever on 90. I get it. But I'm talking generations of his family will be set for life if he can cash in on 120 million. That's why I don't mind that one. Greenlight Transport says Keith likes everyone. When it comes to the draft, I try to be extremely positive because I want all these players to be awesome. If 59 players picked over the last 2 days, plus another 30 or so that catch on through two-way contracts and come in through camp deals, and they all make it and they're all great. You know what that means? It means the NBA is incredibly deep and versatile and is going to be awesome. That's why I like this. But it's important to know when I say I like somebody, it's usually I like it relative to where they went. We just talked about a couple camp guys for the Lakers. I like them as camp flyers that maybe you get something out of. If the Lakers had traded into the first round and drafted RJ Davis, I wouldn't have liked it. I did. Exactly. There were picks. I'm not saying you need to go watch the whole 4-hour first round draft show we did. You should, because it's full of all kinds of good stuff and a lot of fun. But there were picks. I openly said I do not like that pick here. I also, though, then will very hard try to do my work to find out what was the team thinking? Why did they make this pick? And if they can at least get me there, I will try to admit I can at least understand why they did what they did. So the Portland getting Drew Holiday, I don't like that for them. So there's an example, but I can at least understand why they did it and why they thought it was a good move.
And besides, don't you want the dude that's going to be handing out hugs to be kind of positive, right? Man. Isn't that something? Yeah. I've got people say, well, Austin Reaves isn't worth that money. And I just want to I just want to show this. This is right now. If we're talking about people here like, oh, Austin Reaves, 120 million, that's crazy. On a 4-year deal, that's what, 30 million per that we're talking about. I mean, look at the guys that are making 30 million right now.
Yep.
This is the list. There's Drew, Jeremy Grant, Jordan Poole, Tyler Hero, Julius Randle, DeJounte Murray, Porzingis, McCollum, Jalen Johnson, Hartenstein, Andrew Wiggins. I mean, it's not, you're not talking about like all-stars here.
Yep.
We're talking about good players, but we're not talking about like the all-star tier of guy here, with the exception of a few, of course. But I mean,
Sure.
isn't Austin Reaves in that group? Like, that's not unreasonable compared to his peers around the NBA when we look at what guys are getting.
It's funny, right? If his contract came in at RJ Barrett's number, right in between Derek White and Anthony Simons, I would have absolutely no issue with that, because I think he is slightly worse than Derek White, and I think he's better than Anthony Simons.
Mm-hmm.
So here we go. And now adjust that because he's signing later, 2 years later than when those guys signed, 3 years for a couple of those. That's 30 million. Here's the other thing. What did I say on yesterday's show? 30 million is not even 20% of the cap. Like, we have to readjust. You got to reframe 30 million. When by the time Austin Reaves signs, if it's 30 million, that's going to be the equivalent to like 15 million a few years ago.
Yeah.
Like, that's how quickly the cap and everything has grown. You can't stay anchored to that's a lot of money. I mean, it's true, it is a lot of money, but you like in NBA terms, it's just a little bit different.
I think it's fair that you have to be careful, because under the new CBA, it's particularly punitive if you have, say, 2 guys on a max and a third guy on an almost max deal and all of that. But that's not what we're talking about here with the cap rising. The sticker shock, I think, is what was going to get a lot of people, and that may not really reflect what the overall percentage of the cap actually is, because we still think of it. We tend to, in just kind of the general NBA consciousness, we tend to be like 2 years behind in terms of the CBA when we react to the value of player contracts. What sounds like a lot to us a few years from now won't sound like quite so much.
100%. Yeah, it's just like it's there, and then when you get even further down the road too, like, you're in a spot where it's going to count for even less of the cap.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's there. Just for anybody wondering too, the page Trevor's on Spot Track right now, that's just our full contract page, and you can sort that by point guards, shooting guards, all guards, wings, forwards, all kinds of stuff up at the very top of the page. So if you ever want to see, and you can change the years and everything else, if you just want to see.
I just did all players just so we can get a sense. But if we want to go even just compare him to his peers as far as guards, I mean, Jordan Poole, Tyler Hero, DeJounte Murray.
Tell me Austin Reaves isn't a 30-something best guard in the league? Come on now. What are we doing?
Right.
So,
okay. Yep. Okay, let's go here.
There was a super chat that came
Eddie Guerrero, Latino Heat, said, Trev, you talked about a little about Summer League day passes the other day. Can you detail more, like buying online or at the door, cost, time to arrive, etc.? Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that, Keith, our kind of experience at Summer League. And I'll tell you what, in days gone by, it was totally fine just to buy them at the window when you walk up.
Not this year.
No, not this year. I'm saying that's what I'm saying. In days gone by, that's been fine. This year, opening day, Cooper, Flagg, and Bronny in the building, you're probably not going to want to buy those tickets the day of. You're going to need to go on.
I don't know if they're already on sale today, but
I think
you better
they are.
buy them whenever they go on sale.
Got to buy them early.
What happens is Summer League is split between 2 gyms.
Yep.
So you have the main gym, Thomas and Mack. That's like where UNLV plays. And then you have is it still called Cox Pavilion, I think?
I believe it is, yeah.
That's like attached to it. And basically they're like, if you go out into the concourse, you just cross the concourse and you can go back and forth. When you buy your Summer League ticket, you're buying access into the complex, I guess is the best way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can go back and forth between the 2 gyms. One, it's freaking basketball nirvana. It's awesome because you could just be like, this game's kind of boring, or the main guys are out. I'm going to run over to the other gym and check it out. But when the Lakers play, because they might as well be Las Vegas's home team.
Yep.
It's already really hard to get tickets. Plus, it's like what, a 3, 4, 5 hour drive for most of LA to get over there. So like the Laker fans flood the place. Then you have Cooper Flagg, who everyone's going to want to see. It's just going to be really, really hard to get tickets for that first day if you don't get them now.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be tough. And when you're looking at, the cool thing about it is you buy your tickets for the whole day. So you want to show up at 12:30 and you want to watch New Orleans and Minnesota and you want to hang out all the way until the end, till San Antonio and Philadelphia.
Yep.
And VJ Edgecomb's playing Dylan Harper and all that. You can. You don't buy tickets for Lakers versus Mavs. You buy tickets for the day. Man. And you could be there all day. And then you see over here where it says arena, these two arenas, they're connected. As Keith was saying, you could walk back and forth between them. So Thomas and Mack Center, the Cox Pavilion. Thomas and Mack Center is bigger, more seating room, and all of that's more of a traditional real, arena. But nonetheless, you can walk back and forth between the two of them. Really, really cool. And Keith, I always go back to this just to kind of land the plane here. If you want to know what Summer League is and you haven't been there, it's essentially NBA Comic-Con.
Yep.
That's essentially what Summer League is. It is awesome.
Yeah, it's great. I will caution, if you're going to watch that opening night, Cooper Flagg and Bronny James, don't think you're walking into Thomas and Mack at 4:45 local time and getting a great seat. You better plan on being in there for probably the whole of Oklahoma City and Brooklyn, maybe even some of New Orleans, Minnesota, if you want to have a seat, or have your buddy who comes with you switch off while one of you runs and grabs food and goes to the bathroom and save a couple seats. And it's all general admission too. You don't, but there are different pass levels you can buy. I think I might be speaking a little out of turn because, to be honest, it's not how we attend.
Right.
But I believe there are different pass levels, but within the arena in Mass, you just sit wherever you want.
Wherever you find seats. Yeah.
That's the other thing that's cool too is Cox Pavilion is like a high school gym.
It is.
It's like a practice gym for UNLV. So you can sit almost courtside and watch some of these guys. And I don't know about you. I'm still not in a position where I could ever sit courtside at an NBA game. So
now,
this is
I will say, if you're going to see the Lakers are never put in Cox Pavilion because they've got too many people coming. 100%. So you won't be able to see the Lakers in there, but you could see a lot of other teams that'll be over there and see some really good games going on in there.
Even my year where my boy here was covering gosh, I can't remember his name, the kid from Gonzaga. That was like the only guy the Lakers had that year, like rostered player. Like they were still playing in Thomas and Mack.
God, who was it?
I gotta find it now. He's a two-way player.
Right. I'm trying to remember who that was.
From Gonzaga. Would have been several years ago.
Oh man.
Come on, chat. Let's go. Help us out here.
Oh, Jay Ajayi?
Is that right? That might be right.
Matt Peralta says that. Matt the Optimist.
It does sound right. Yeah.
Was it Jay Ajayi? I could have sworn there was somebody.
I think it's Jay, though. Is it Jay?
He said Jay.
Maybe something.
I don't know. Anyway, whoever it was.
Yeah.
There have been a lot of years.
Like even then, like they're still in Thomas and Mack and like million Laker fans. There was a question, I've lost it now. Somebody said, how does the fandom change when when Las Vegas gets a team? Yeah, they'll lose some. Some people will move over to being a fan of the local team. Part of the problem is Las Vegas, much like Orlando, where I live, it's very few people grew up there. Joel Ajayi, there it is. Very few people are like born and raised in Las Vegas. Like they're like Orlando, they're getting into their first full generation of people who are born and raised there. It's a transplant city, big time. Mm-hmm. And those were so if they came as Laker fans, they're going to probably stick as Lakers fans. So.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I've been asked that question too. Does Summer League leave Las Vegas when they get a team there? I don't think so. I think it's way too, like, at this point, this is just what we do. This is what the NBA does.
Yep.
Vegas and Summer League is what we do. And it's great. It's worked out great. It's been great for Las Vegas, great for the NBA, and it's a lot of fun. So definitely get it if you get a chance. But again, this year you're going to need to buy those tickets.
Yeah, better get them now. Get them today or whenever they go on sale, because it's going to be that first day will sell out.
Absolutely
easy. It's not, and then you're going to be mad because then you're in Las Vegas, like standing around. And there are other ways to get tickets, but I can also tell you, I know a lot of people have been like, "Yeah, I got them from this guy," and then it's they aren't real tickets. So just be careful with that. So
now, other days, like the second day, you might be able to just walk up to the ticket window and buy your tickets, and off you go and be good.
Yep. Just got to watch. And then I think like day 3, Cooper Flagg and Dylan Harper play. The Lakers play again. It'll be, you just look at the schedule and figure it out. But hey, if you love basketball, they just love Summer League basketball is not good basketball. It's generally pretty awful at times. But if you love basketball, you love being in the gym. If you want to run into NBA people too, not just like media folks like us, but like executives and coaches and former players, everybody's out there. Like, and you can run into people all the time. It's awesome. So
yeah.
All right, I've got to do radio in a couple minutes. So want to knock out the last couple of super chats?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go here. Here. I think there's the last one here. With Dame, Jason, and Tyrese missing the season, should the NBA look into how teams evaluate injuries, including calf strains? They are. Adam Silver's talked about this recently. They are digging into this, trying to see if was this just happenstance? Was this just unfortunate bad luck? Or was there something else, something else behind all these Achilles tears? And so that's what they're doing. He even said they're using AI to get it, not Allen Iverson, but they're using AI to dig into it.
Funny memes.
Those were awesome.
Yeah,
those were awesome.
AI examining X-rays.
That was so good.
How do people make those things so quick? Like
AI.
Apparently, yeah. I guess.
Dude, you could go into Grok. You could go into I need a picture of Allen Iverson in a Sixers jersey looking at an X-ray, and it will give you that. They don't always turn out perfect.
The world we live in.
The world we live in.
I'm gonna say this. We'll end on this question with that. This is great that the NBA is looking into what they can do better, and there's only so much they can control. This starts at the grassroots level. I've talked about it ad nauseum. Dude, these guys play way too many games, way too much, with no break, sports specific, all this stuff. We need to get better with this. There's a reason baseball pitchers are blowing out elbows at age 22. It's because by the time they're 22 and they're in the majors, they've already thrown hundreds and hundreds of innings by the time they get there, from the time they were 8 years old and playing Little League all the way through. I told the story that I have a friend of mine who he texted me. He's like, yeah, my kid was just in a no pitch limit tournament. And that was like the selling point of a tournament for like a group of like 11-year-olds.
Wow.
Like in baseball. Like that shouldn't be a thing. Soccer tournaments, kids playing 4, 6, 8 games in a weekend. AAU basketball, the same thing. It starts there. We got to make the fix there, because if you look at these Achilles injuries that are predominantly, a lot of the experts say a lot of this is from overuse. It is not European players that these are happening to, because they don't do this. They don't do these kind of things where it is, 4 or 5 practices a week followed by multiple games in the weekend. It's by the time they get there. Doctors say when they review the medicals for these guys, they had to readjust their thinking, because when they get these medicals, these guys look like what a 32, 33, 34-year-old looked like when they're coming into the league at 22. Right. Like there's that. I'll also say there's things that are challenges. The game is played faster now. It's quicker now. It's more physical. Now, people like to think the 80s and 90s, which the basketball we grew up on, was more physical.
Different kind of physical.
Highlights of guys getting knocked to the floor. When I say physical, it's just hands and guys jumping over guys and smashing into each other at 100 miles an hour. It's more stuff like that. So there's no one fix for this. It has to start at the grassroots level. and come up. And then there's things that the NBA can do to say that. I will also say this, though. LeBron is an outlier, but he's no longer an extreme outlier. Kevin Durant
KD.
is still going. Al Horford is still going. Chris Paul is still going. All those guys are still going at a time when the NBA we watched, that would have been, it was Robert Parrish, and before him it was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and like two other guys played anywhere near that late in their career. And it was like a running joke. Not that they were jokes, but it was a running joke about like, here comes the old man, get him his rocking chair because he checked out because they're 38 years old. Guys are playing deeper. So there's all these things that they can fix and solve. Take the good stuff, fix some of the other stuff, and we're going to get to a better place. But it has to start at the grassroots level.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. I think that's a good place to end it for today. We appreciate all of you for joining us here for Front Office Friday. You guys are awesome. Make sure you do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts as well. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.